Let's continue forward. Least competent in a legal setting is our next category. Anybody can tell me the name of this TV lawyer? None of you had TVs in the 60s? Perry Mason is Hamilton Burglar, absolutely. The Hamburglar. The Hamburglar would have been a better lawyer because he would have tried to settle once or twice and get a plea. Hamilton knew he was going to lose. He lost every week. Here are our nominees. We're going to go through this category quickly. Here is the movie Alive. Here's one where the plane crashed, and then the people who survived had to eat the people who didn't until winter came, until spring came. This is similar. This was last year's case involving the Malaysian airliner case. Remember the one where CNN basically turned into the Malaysian Air Network, and every minute they had breaking news that they hadn't found the plane yet? We still haven't found the plane. The lawyer, however, here was a Chicago lawyer, decided that she needed to get justice for the victims in this case, and so a month or so after we couldn't still find the plane, she filed a lawsuit. Now, very difficult. If you don't have a black box, you don't know why the plane went down, or even if it did. So it's hard to narrow down your list of defendants. So she decided to take a very expansive look at it. And she sued, obviously, Malaysian Airlines and the plane manufacturer. Not just that, but every part manufacturer. But also the people in the duty-free gift shop in the Malaysian airport, the guy who drove the rickshaw, the people to the airport, the Uber guy in Chicago who would pick you up if you ever flew Malaysian Air. Her case was obviously dismissed, and she was told, don't do that anymore. Here is the movie Groundhog Day. Here's a lawyer in Ohio, and he got a stayed 2-year suspension for filing the identical brief in 31 of 35 appellate cases. Now, when we say identical, here's what we mean. Each brief was exactly 10 pages long, repeated the same grammatical errors, raised the same assignment of error, failed to cite any case in support of that assignment of error, failed to include any fact-specific circumstances that would make that case applicable to this particular appeal. Now, here's the best part is 31 identical briefs, 29 times he had to file an extension. Very long line in his firm for the find and replace key, and so he's going to be late from time to time. Here is the movie The Absent-Minded Professor, and here is a Wisconsin lawyer, and I love what the Court of Appeals said. They said that this is not an isolated incident, but a pattern of gross and inexcusable attention to details. I love this. Frankly, we are at a loss to understand what is clearly the respondent's intentional disregard of the rules and details, including the failure to proofread. Now, I understand why this lawyer had typos in his filings or grammatical mistakes, and that is because he has a computer. Let me explain. Before I had a computer and Microsoft Word, I was a good speller. When I was a kid, I was a great speller. Now, remember, I was born in America. I couldn't win the scripts. I mean, I'm not, you can't do that. But I can get to the regionals. All right, it's pretty much good as far as a native-born American is going to make it. And so, but here's the problem is, I used to be able to spell words like awkward. I have no idea how many W's are in awkward. I think 7, maybe 8. I can't tell. It's always 7 or 8. I don't need to know, because here's why I know. If I type in AWK, Word will do the rest for me. Or Facebook, or my phone, or anything else, right? The problem is this, is that I love the fact that spell check is great, but it is not, how do I say this? It is not particular. As long as the word that you type in is actually a word, it could care less if it fits. So, for example is, a couple months ago, I discovered something that I want to share with my people, Heidi and others, on Facebook. Here's what I wanted to share, is I learned how to get skinny jeans, but cheap, not $300, $30. Here's how you can get designer skinny jeans, very, very simple. You go to Costco, you buy a regular pair of jeans, and then you gain 30 pounds. Now you have skinny jeans. Now they're not very fancy, they just have the Costco pocket, so here's what you have to do to make them fancy. If you step up in a cab really quickly in Reno, and you split the back completely down, now you have crotchless skinny jeans. And that's very big in France. So I want to let people know this on Facebook, and I wanted to give it a little flair for my post. And so I want to let people know I'm a cosmopolitan man. And so I'm going to use the word voila. V-I-O-L-A. Viola. Yeah, I look like an idiot. I look like an idiot on Facebook every day. Nobody cares. However, you do, and I'm going to be making fun of you next year. All right? Spell check is not the answer to everything. But the winner in this category, of course, is Bill Murray. He's been snubbed for too long. Stripes. Really deserves something for Scrooge. Even that part he played, I think, in Space Jam, should have got Best Supporting Actor. Really has never been appreciated for his acting genius. But also for this reason, because this case shows something that's amazing. Remember, the thing I think is most amazing is not that he tried to use the same find and replace 31 times. If you're a corporate lawyer, you're like, what's the problem? All right, we do that every time. In fact, if you're a corporate lawyer and you come in with your own form, they will throw you out. Like, what are you talking about? Where's the find and replace? But here's what's different, though, about this one, is that he was late. Because I found this out, is that it doesn't matter how much stuff you have to do. If you're a late person, you will tend to be late no matter how long you have to do it. You know the expression, the work you have expands to fill the time you have. I'll give you an example. We were talking about church, and I was kind of telling you about Brendan making us late. It's not Brendan. But we are late to church every week. I have not had communion since 1993. We do it at the beginning of service, and I never make it for communion. I don't even plan on it. I eat something at home. We do communion at the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru, right? There's no way in the world we're going to ever get there on time. Now, here's the funny thing is, my church has a different start time every year. We kind of rotate these things, share the building with another congregation, and so it's at 9 o'clock sometime. And I'm late every year, every time. It's at 11 a.m. every third year. I'm late for that. Every third year, this year, it's at 1 p.m. Who do you think got to church last week late for 1 p.m.? We can have church at midnight. I'd be running in there at 12:15. There's just there's a reason I don't practice law, all right? It's not because I like paying for my own health care, all right? But you got to be better than that. Best use of deceptive legal marketing. Here is our first nominee. It's not Empire, people. He had worked before then. This is the best man. Here is a lawyer in North Carolina who had a threefer, 3 ethics violations in one. She hired someone to create a website for her. And on the website it said that she was Jacksonville's best auto injury lawyer, that she could get you the settlement you deserve, and that she was a personal injury specialist. Exactly. I'll handle that in sort of order. You know, in Rule 7.4 for you, if you say you are a specialist, an expert, you actually have to be one. You have to be certified. And here's the funny thing is that you can't just be like, it has to be a real organization. It can't just be like, oh, your mama said that you're really good. Yeah, what a concept. That, by the way, is not a rule anywhere else in life, but it is a rule for us, all right? The other thing about it is that you cannot be a lawyer and market your services as if you were running for the Republican nomination. In other words, just have unsubstantiated superlatives. I'm the best of all time. I'd be great at the military. Just, you can't do stuff like that. Here's an example. Now, the lawyer here is amazing because here's what the lawyer said. The lawyer said, you don't understand. And by the way, let me show you the rule here in Colorado. A2 is that a communication is false. First of all, let me start from the beginning. A lawyer shall not make a false or misleading communication about the lawyer or the lawyer's services. Let me read that in English. A lawyer shall not market effectively. Most marketing outside of the practice of law is actually misleading. It's how it works. But it says that our communication can be misleading if they compare the lawyer's services with other lawyers' services, unless the comparison can be factually substantiated. Now that makes sense to you, but that doesn't apply anywhere else. When I get to your airport today, the one in Kansas, can you explain to me why your airport is not in the state and why it's 8 hours and $700 in a cab ride? It's more for the cab ride than the airplane. I should have taken a cab from Phoenix. It would have been cheaper. And quicker with your traffic. What is wrong with your traffic, by the way? But here's the point. I think I forgot it. Yeah, when I get to your airport, sometime next Thursday, I'm going to run into an eating establishment. TCBY, the country's best yogurt. Who thinks that that's been substantiated by the American Board of Yogurtology? 4 out of every 5 sumo wrestlers have recommended it. They just made it up. They do it all the time. I do it all the time. My business card reads America's Funniest Lawyer. Let me tell you how I got that title. And I'm going to tell you this because it's a good story, and it might kill a good 30 minutes, all right? And we really got a lot of time here. Once upon a time, I made it up, the end. Oh, a little short on time there. I made it up. I didn't win a contest. They don't have last lawyer standing. I just put it on my business card. It's not a problem at all. Being America's Funniest Lawyer is not even saying a lot. It's like being America's most interesting mortician. The healthiest Denver quarterback, the most honest governor of Illinois. It's not saying a lot, right? But here's the point, though, is that when the lawyer hired the web designer did what web designer would do with anybody else in the world. He hadn't read our rules. He gave us superlative. What anyone else would do, we got to remember, even when you hire outside people, that you go, we got these weird rules, and you're going to have to basically say, I don't suck that bad. But you can't say anything more than that. Here is the movie Life of Pi. I cannot tell you anything about this movie. I saw the preview, and 20 seconds into the preview, I was rooting for the tiger. Please tell me the tiger ate this little boy up so there was something to watch. Please tell me. If you tell me that, I'll get it tonight on Netflix. Here's the Indiana lawyer, and she decided that she wanted to be a law tiger. That's right. You know that clients are always very impressed with lawyers who also have feline characteristics. So you have to be a law tiger or a law puma, a law tabby cat, anything. Rah! See, it builds confidence. It builds confidence. This is one of these franchises, and I think probably the Colorado one might still be available. You call the number today, and you can be a law tiger. The Law Tiger website has testimonials from other clients that say, hey, they got me a bunch of money. Ooh, that's hot. However, you know that your rules say that if you're going to tell people about past results, that might be misleading unless you let them know that they might not get a judge and jury as stupid as the one you got last time. You can't let everybody think they're going to get $2.1 million. Here's the best part about it is, the lawyer says, wait a minute, this is a large national association. They have me listed on there. I'm not responsible for what they put on the website. And they were like, yes, you are. You're a law tiger. Here you roar. You call somebody. Here's our next nominee. Some of you recognize the movie From the Hat. Exactly. It's the weirdest thing. Here's a New Jersey lawyer who said he had the New Jersey connection. The client comes to him and says, the feds are bugging me. And I don't mean bothering, but surveilling me. And he says, I know, it's New Jersey. They surveil all of us. And by the way, it's America. What's your point? He says, no, this is really bad, and I need some help. He says, no problem. I went to school. Mikey and I are buddies. Michael Chertoff, head of Homeland Security. He grew up in the neighborhood. We're buddies. We're in the same fantasy football league. Don't worry, I got you. I got the hookup. I got the connection. I'll call Mikey. You're good. Mikey and this lawyer fell out over the years, not as tight as he thought they were. And so Mikey didn't call the feds off. And one of the things that the bar explained to this lawyer when he was suspended for 3 months was that it's professional misconduct to state or imply that you got the hookup. That you can use extrajudicial means to get someone's advantage because you know somebody, you have a friend of a friend of a friend. This is kind of interesting because there have been cases that say, well, what if I don't say I have the hookup, but I put a picture of me, the state Supreme Court Chief Justice on my website. And with a little quote from him like, this is my boy. I owe everything to him. I'm more than happy to make it up at any time I can. And generally it's stuff that you should not do that or really be friends with the judges. But anyway, we'll move on. It's another seminar. And lastly, the movie Google Me. Here's a lawyer who learned that there are 2 ways in life to achieve success. Most of you know this already. You can work hard, build a reputation for honesty, integrity, or you can use Google AdWords. He decided to choose door number 2, Monty. And what he did is he found lawyers who had done that. And you might look for that lawyer. But when you look for them, guess who you found? Him. He was very, very surprised when the bar said, you really can't do that. Now, why that's important is because lawyers are increasingly starting to use meta tags to advertise. And if you go to one of the, the legal marketing guru seminars, and by the way, you know the person's a guru because they have never done actually what they're telling you to do because they're not lawyers. That's how you know a real expert, all right, in the 21st century. So the gurus will tell you that you should have a great search engine optimization strategy. And when someone types in best DUI defense in Denver, you should come up. Now, you can't put that on the front page of your website. You know that. But what if you put it in the meta tags? There's a reason why you want to put that in the meta tags specifically. Because when anybody gets arrested for DUI, you find it hard to believe, they don't go to the internet and type in mediocre DUI defense. Even if they have $3, they think they deserve the best. Everybody's going to want to type that in, and there are increasingly cases, one just came out of New York, that said, we're going to treat the meta tag information like if you put that on the front page of your website. And the same penalties will apply, which are usually don't do that again unless you need to. No one ever gets disbarred for this. But here are our nominees here. And the winner, of course, is this movie had the most black people in it. I counted. And if it would have been a tie, I would have chosen a movie with the darker black people in it. All right, so this was all about race, people. Too bad for you. Now you know how I feel sometimes. All right, here we go. I chose this one, though, for another reason, is that this is the kind of thing that's important because we tend to use social media as a way to show how wonderful we are. LinkedIn has made it to Colorado, right? And I bet you everybody in this room at some point was talked into getting a LinkedIn account. Anybody? I'll let you give me a ride to your Harbor Airport if you can tell me this. Anybody tell me a use for LinkedIn that is at all reasonable and profitable? Is it nothing but a waste of time for anybody? Anybody, Bueller? Exactly. LinkedIn has this thing where it allows you to have endorsements, and people can endorse your skills in various areas. And here's the best thing about it is, that endorsement does not need to have any relation to anything you do. I get it all the time. I get them for things like midwifery. According to LinkedIn, I'll deliver a baby like nobody's business, all right? Here are some of the things that I see internally on my LinkedIn page. They have me down for litigation. Someone's recommended for litigation, several people. Now, people, I was a corporate securities lawyer. I've never been in a court of law. I could not find your Denver County Courthouse with MapQuest, CNI dog. I wouldn't even know what to do when I got in there. Licensing. I got one license, a driver's license, and that's tenuous. Program management. Hey, how's this program working out? Not so good at all, right? Now, I don't know anything about program management. I bet you it's not going to end at the right time. Legal writing, I love this one. Trade secrets. Who would trust me with a secret? Are you out of your mind? Legal advice. By the way, that's a specialty? Any of you here not qualified to get legal advice, you go to client, ooh, you need advice. Hold on, let me call in a partner, special. We got an advice partner in this firm that does that. They're certified by his mama. Employment law. Some of you missed the joke. Let me explain. I've never practiced employment law. For the last 12 years, I've never even had a job. This is what I do. This doesn't even count. Trials. So you're stuff for the trial. Appeals might count. I'm quite appealing. But the point is this, though. That's what I see when I go on my LinkedIn internal profile. It's not what you see. Because to get it on your side, I have to click it and endorse it. When you click it, you own it. Some of you people on the internet, you're not paying attention anyway. Go to LinkedIn now, start unclicking some of that stuff. Some of you, when you get home, start unclicking some of that stuff. You are not an expert, okay, in skydiving. Here, our next category is the Hitchcock Award. I don't really have anything I like in here. I'm moving on. We can do that in a 50-minute hour. Most creative tale. I like this because I found over the years that you can lie in a lot of different ways. There are different types of lying. We have lying, not just, we always think of lies like it would just be wrong if I told someone something that wasn't true. No, you can lie a lot of ways. You can lie by certification. Here is a lawyer in North Carolina. He got caught, well, scratch it. This is a movie, Back to School. But here's a lawyer in North Carolina. He got caught lying in his certification about his MCLE hours. He said that he had done all of his hours. He had not done all of his hours. Now, it was really bad because he actually, in addition to being a lawyer, was also the state's, what is this? I'm going to get his title right, make sure I get this right. He was I got it right, the chief ethics counsel. So he was counsel to the state bar. Now, here's what I like about it, two things. One, how did we find out? Someone from the bar told on him, right? His people. So he obviously ain't the nicest guy. But secondly, I love this because the guy who was the ethics counsel for the bar lied. Now, you've got to come down like a ton of bricks on stuff like that. Teach a lesson to all the other people. So you know, of course, he got a public reprimand. Bad boy. Bad lawyer. But go back to work. Here is a Maryland lawyer, and he has an indefinite suspension. But after 1 year, he can reapply. This movie here is Stroke of Midnight. Here's a lawyer who didn't do his CLE, and what he said is that you don't understand. I didn't do my CLE, but I have an excuse. I had an excuse not to do my CLE. I had not one, but 2 strokes last year. I said, wow, I guess you do have an excuse. If you provide us, with some documentation and doctor's notes, we'll be good. He didn't plan on that part. Here's what I've discovered is that I have a fair amount of doctor friends. Any of you have a doctor friend who will write you 2 stroke notes? What about 1 stroke note? That you had a hangnail? Exactly. Hard to get somebody, a doctor, to fake a stroke note. I don't know what's wrong with those doctors. Here is the movie Silence of the Lambs. Here's a New Jersey lawyer who got suspended for 1 year, which means in New Jersey you killed someone. He ate all the people. That was Hannibal Lecter. No, almost as bad, I guess. The lawyer's representing the client in a wrongful termination case. The client, during the pendency of the litigation, does something that's horrible and gets a job, a better job that pays more than the one she lost. They have a little issue with economic damages here, but they still might have some claims for discrimination, et cetera. But he doesn't want to give up the economic damage case, and so the client says, what do I do? He says, girl, that's none of their business. What you do now with your spare time, they're all up in your Kool-Aid, don't know the flavor. You don't have to tell them nothing, girl. Don't you tell them nothing. In a deposition, she says, job? I don't know what's a job? How you spell job? He's like, whoop, 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 whoop. I'm not listening, Jeffrey, la la. Year suspension. You know the rule here. Colorado. I love this rule. It says that if a lawyer, the lawyer's client or witness has offered material evidence and the lawyer comes to know of its falsity, the lawyer shall take remedial actions. It's going, ooh, I didn't hear that, is not one of them. All the president's men. Remember what we learned from that? It's not the lie, it's the cover-up. Not the crime, it's the cover-up. Here is a lawyer in New York who has missed the filing deadline. He calls a client and says, oh, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but you lost. Well, I guess that's fine. No liability on my part. Sorry. Client says, lost? I don't never even filed a lawsuit. Are you sure? Did I sign anything? So, oh, yeah, the judge dismissed the case. Did I show up to court? Did I wear something cute? What happened? He said, oh, no, it was horrible. You remember? Oh, it was horrible. We lost. But I tried my best. So, no. Dad, I don't remember saying anything. Can you send me over the trial transcript, the pleading, something? He said, oh, I got them all here, no problem. Hands the phone, calls the assistant in, and says, you're not going home tonight, girlfriend. We need to gin up this trial record. So he creates an entire record, filings, answers, judge's orders, etc. Delivers them. She says, I lost. I didn't wear anything cute. How did I lose? You know what? I want to appeal. He said, oh, no. There's a new law that was passed. If you lose an appeal, it's a death penalty. Immediate. Not even appeals. You just go right to the chair. You don't want to have that happen. Trust me. She said, I don't know. I'm going to consult another lawyer. I'm going to get a second opinion. And that lawyer said, you got a case here, girl. We're going to appeal this case. You're going to find it hard to believe, but if you appeal a case that was never filed, it causes problems for people. This lawyer was disbarred. And last nominee here is throw mama under the bus. Here's an Illinois lawyer. They're proposing a 3-year suspension for trust account violations. In his defense, he explains that his 80-year-old mother has hacked into his computer and stolen the client funds. Now, how many of you have an 80-year-old mother who can hack into your computer or sign onto their Wi-Fi at home or ever remember the password? Exactly. If I have to go to my mother's house one more time to reset that router, I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's why the guy's getting a 3-year suspension. Not for the money he stole. It wasn't that much. But if you tell a lie that stupid, people get mad because you're insulting. All right? You really are. Right? You're insulting their intelligence. Always. If you're going to tell a lie, tell a good one. But the answer and the winner here, you find it hard to believe, is Rodney Dangerfield. Never got the respect he deserved. Never, no respect. Also, here's the reason, though, is I want to talk to you something about that's near and dear to my heart. MCLA. Yes. You think it's called MCLE, there's no such thing. I've done MCLE in 43 states, but there's no such thing as MCLE. There's no such thing as mandatory continuing legal attendance. That's not what you're doing now. Don't leave, you'll get the credits. Hear me out. You do MCLA, mandatory continuing legal attendance. The requirement for you to pass this course is to be alive. At whatever time we end. I guess that's what, 11:45? And by the way, some of you are not going to make it. I can tell you that now. You don't try laughing more, you're going to get incomplete. But people know that. They come to my seminars all the time with no intention of learning anything. You'll find it hard to believe. When people come in, they set up, hypothetically, a laptop, an iPad, a barbecue grill. A couple weeks ago in Chicago, they set up a volleyball court in the back. No intention of learning anything. Now, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Let me tell you what never helps this profession. When one of us is so uninformed, we think that, say, negligence is something you get at Victoria's Secret. Some of you not paying attention, let me explain. What you get at Victoria's Secret is called a negligee, or in the case of my wife, flannel pajamas. But not the point of the seminar. Pay attention in your CLE, not this one, but the other ones. Worst love scene. I'm going to just show you the clip here.
Good evening. Wide World of Sports is here in the Royal Manhattan Hotel for a live on-the-spot telecast of the Fielding Mellish honeymoon night. Mellish and his new bride were married this morning in a civil ceremony in downtown Manhattan. The bride wore the traditional virginal white, as did Mellish. Following that, they had dinner and are both now ready for the consummation of their marriage. The turnout has been gigantic. And here for a play-by-play description is Howard Cosell. Take it away, Howard.
You join us with the action just about to start. Yes, indeed. Here comes the bride. And she's got a lot of fans here. They are tense, but they swell to a tremendous cheer. And as I think is apparent, she is in very good physical condition. And here comes Mellish. Listen to that crowd roar. He is wearing a green corduroy suit, jogging and bobbing down the aisle, buttressed by his trainer and his handlers. Action has started. They approach one another cautiously. Nothing unique about that. Now, Mellish begins to make his moves, and so does Nancy. The two are working together closely, the action growing more rigorous. It is swift, rhythmic, coordinated. What's that? A cut over Mellish's right eye. The doctor comes in to examine the cut. No, it will not be stopped. It continues. I tell you, good evening.
You can't handle it. That's too much. It's too much. It's a PG-13 show. But I want to talk to you about my favorite rule in the canon. Rule 1.8J. I never do a seminar without talking about this rule. It is my favorite rule. Now, you think it's the cheap jokes. That's only 90% of it, people. 90% of it. Let me tell you why I love this rule, because a rule is built on a supposition. And I don't know if it's true, but I so desperately want it to be true. See, the supposition behind this rule is that as lawyers, we are very sexy. I want you to think about it. The thought is no rational person could ever be expected to resist your charms. You're so interesting and persuasive. Therefore, we need to have a bright line rule that protects the client from your sexiness. Now, here's why you should be proud you have a rule. I've done this in 43 states. Not every state has it. Last Thursday, I was in Tennessee. You've seen these people. They don't have a rule. Here's a policy of the Tennessee State Bar, is if you can get it, go for it. Don't quote me on that. But I have lawyers who have violated this rule, and it's always my favorite category for obvious reasons. Here is our first nominee, the movie I Know What You Sexted Last Summer. Here is one of the seven sexting cases I had to choose from this year. 7 lawyers out there thought, somebody wants to see me naked. Trust me, guys, nobody wants to see you naked. 6 of them were men. However, I chose this one because it was a woman. It had to be interesting. I thought to myself, did the guy tell? No. Here's what happened. His new girlfriend told. She's representing the husband in a divorce. She starts sexting the client, and the new girlfriend finds a phone and texts and says, hey, you're jumping the line. I haven't even stolen him from his current wife yet. The way it works is I steal him from her, and then you can steal him from me. You jumped the line here. You out of order. She says, I know something about the rules of ethics, too, and you're not supposed to do this. And matter of fact, if he doesn't get custody the way he wants it, I'm going to tell. You know, matter of fact, you know what? Take $3,000, meet me in a Walgreens parking lot. That's why you don't go to Walgreens, people. She says, literally, meet me at the next hearing with $3,000 in cash, and you can buy your way out of this. The lawyer says, I know this isn't going to work. So she calls the police, which is good news, because now, new girlfriend had to go to jail for extortion. She is number 2 on the depth chart. However, probably not so good for the new boyfriend, because it's no fun having a big-time lawyer who is disbarred. She won't be disbarred, but she will be suspended because this is her second violation. No girls allowed. Here's a Connecticut lawyer who had the most interesting, will be the word for it, sanction ever. His sanction is officially a 4-month suspension, and he's barred from representing women clients for the rest of his career. That's right. No more women for you. Let me explain why. Because he is a Pepe Le Pew of lawyers. He was currently under protective order to stop sleeping with the clients. He violated that order 11 more times. They have a very strict 11 strikes and you're out policy, all right, in Connecticut. My favorite thing about this lawyer is he tried to get very, I guess he's in New England, he tried to get very constitutional about it and tried to make a constitutional argument that he should be allowed to sleep with the clients. Guess what amendment he chose? He certainly didn't choose a commandment. He chose an amendment, and guess which one? First, freedom of association. Some of you tried it, didn't you? Don't try it. Recently, there's been a big thing about Hamilton. My wife has become a Hamilton fan, which means I had to become a Hamilton. And we've been reading a lot of Hamilton in our house, and I've read some of the Federalist Papers. And I remember the one he talked about. Remember, you've all heard it, we learned it at school. It was either him or Nathan Hale, or he said, remember, give me liberty or the right to sleep with the clients due to the First Amendment freedom of association, remember? No, it didn't work for them either. Here is the movie Imposter. It's an Oklahoma case, start giggling. Here's a lawyer, remember I told you they love the criminals. So here's a lawyer who impersonated a public defender. Not for the glory that is being a public defender, but that will allow him to do client intake for some of the indigent women inmates at the jail there. And he had very interesting client intake procedures. One of the clients calls the public defender one day and said, I got some information from my lawyer about my case. And said, well, which lawyer is it? I said, well, I don't remember his name, but he's the one who makes you get naked during the intake. And they said, well, you got to be a little more specific than that. You got to give us a eye color, a hair color, or something. That's 3/4 of the guys in here. It's Oklahoma. They finally track him down. They do a sting. He recognizes that they actually have cameras in the courtroom, in the holding rooms. Who would have really thunk it? Once again, I love this guy. He just walks in and goes, you know what? Here's my law license. Here's my driver's license. Here's my Chuck E. Cheese card. I don't deserve any of these. I'm going home. I'm wrong. Consent disbarment. Now think about it. That's a consent. And I love a consent disbarment because what was the worst thing they could do to you anyway? That's like a consent capital punishment, right? Consent, like the worst thing they could do is disbar you. Why wouldn't you go for it? Because he didn't want to be, it was too embarrassing. Next nominee is the movie In Her Shoes. Here is a lawyer who becomes very enamored with opposing counsel. Becomes very enamored, and they're in court together, and she's sitting at the other counsel table. He notices her shoes. And after the hearing, he sends her a little text. Love those shoes, girls. Those were fierce. She said, oh, thank you very much. These Jimmy Choos. Oprah told me to get them. Her favorite thing, my favorite thing. I got them. Good for you. He sends a text about 2 hours later. Says, I keep thinking about you and the shoes. Ladies, let me give you a little hint. If a straight man notices that you have feet, you need to give him the shoes. I don't care how much they cost. It's worth it. Just send him the shoes. She didn't listen to me. About 11 hours later, she gets another text from him. He's been drinking about this point. He begins to describe in detail his ideas of her and him and the shoes. At that point, she sends over the shoes and calls the bar. He gets a 60-day suspension, all of it for being creepy. There is a conflict of interest, all right, for having the hots for opposing counsel, but that's not really that, that's kind of a, because basically it's based on will your personal interest conflict with your ability to serve the clients, and we can all mostly lie and go, oh, no, we'll be fine about it. But not in this context because he was creepy. Here, however, is our last nominee, the Joker, or the Batman movie, the Dark Knight, the Joker movie. Here is a Georgia lawyer. He'd been admitted in 1964. I remember, I'm a lawyer. I can't do the math, but that's a long time ago. It's at least 16, 17 years ago, a long time ago. He'd been a lawyer for a long time. Client comes in with no history, disciplinary history. Client, he's worked with the client, done great work. And the client says, what do I owe you? He gets up, locks the door, and begins to describe a barter arrangement that he is just concocted. A very disturbing barter arrangement. So disturbing, in fact, that she leaves the office and goes immediately to the police. She does not stop. She did not stop at home to take a shower. She does not pass go. She did not collect $200. She goes to the police. The police are so disturbed by it that they come back to him and say, what is wrong with you? He says, I was just kidding, ha ha. I've told a lot of jokes here today, 2 or 3 of them funny. I hope at no point did any of you go, I'm going to the police. This is ridiculous. If you tell a joke and someone goes to the police, you're doing it wrong, okay? The other thing he says, I love this, is I'm 75 years old. I couldn't do half of this stuff anyway. I remember we all learned in Blackstone, neither ignorance nor impotence is an excuse under the law, okay? Look it up. He was summarily disbarred. 50 years in the practice, one quote-unquote bad joke. Here are our nominees. Well, there are no winners in this category. But the Academy went with In Her Shoes. And let me tell you why. 1, to reemphasize, creepy is always actionable. But also, because this is the kind of thing that can happen, it shouldn't happen to any of you now, but it happened to me once. Now, I have an excuse. This was a long time ago, okay? It was before the internet. As a result, I have a built-in excuse. It's in the rules. Let me explain. I was doing a deal with a lawyer from New York, transactional deal. It's not adversarial. They seldomly were, and certainly this isn't, because we are united in our in our bigger enemy, our respective clients. It's one of those deals where you spend an entire week papering and drafting all the documents for closing that you think is going to happen the next week, and over the weekend the clients get together, have a conversation, and change all the terms of the deal and give you a voicemail saying, hey, another week of work for you. And then you do another week of work knowing darn well that next weekend the same thing will happen. So we become very friendly because Monday morning we know we're going to have that call. And so we start talking and we start, what'd you do this weekend? I saw Jurassic Park 2. It was a long time ago, people. By the way, recently I saw the latest Jurassic Park. Spoiler alert, the dinosaurs get out. Who would have thunk it, really? I watched the same movie 4 times. That's stupid. But anyway. We started sharing all kinds of, where'd you go to school, what are your dreams, your hopes, your fantasies, and we talked about I really got in detail about our mutual fantasy. And our mutual fantasy at that point was killing the clients. And we really had worked it out. Came time to close this deal, and I'm very excited. Oh, by the way, there's some young people in the room. Let me explain this to you young people, especially you people on the internet. None of you are more than 7. We used to have to actually go and be in the same place with other people to close a deal. We didn't always have PDF. It was weird. Just look it up on the internet, trust me. And so I flew to New York to do this deal. And I get there, and I'm expecting that when I get to the closing room, the lights are going to be dim low. And there'll be rose petals on the floor. And that she would be standing there with soft jazz playing and standing behind a stack of Redwells. And she'd come out behind the Redwells wearing a teddy. And she was going to be a vision of Halle Berry. And I was about half right. She looked a lot more like Chuck Berry. Now, in fairness to her, I'm sure she was disappointed. She heard me over the phone. She probably thought I was Denzel Washington. And I came in there looking like Isaac Washington from The Love Boat. It really wasn't. You got to be 40 and over to get that one. It really was not a good look for anybody. But I think about it over the years, I realized a couple of things. I probably didn't give my client the most zealous representation during that time. I probably let a couple of things go. I'm going to encourage you to not do that. And here I got a secret for you. Practical tip, how you'll never have a crush on opposing counsel ever again. I talked to this woman on the phone. Have you ever noticed that people always sound a lot better than they look? You ever see your favorite radio personality, and now you know why they're on radio? Exactly. You find someone and you say, ooh, he sounds cute. Look him up. Then you go back about your business. You won't have a crush anymore. It's the internet. Here, I'm just going to skip right to the winner. We didn't have time to go through the preliminaries. Most over-animated courtroom scene because I got it on video. This is not something that Stuart and I made up. This is a real matter. Here's a Florida case. You can look it up when you get home. The judge is very upset with the public defender. The public defender has the temerity to ask for a hearing. Now, as you understand, that's not how our criminal justice system works. You can't try cases and determine guilt or innocent. That clogs down the whole system. We got 2-3 million people we need to keep in prison at all time. We got license plates to make, all right, cheap stuff to sell to China. We can't have time for trials. That ruins the whole system. The judge is very upset that he was ruining his docket. And so here is the interchange, the interplay between the two of them.
They have.
I'm not waiving.
All right. What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? I'm not waiving. If you want to set it for trial, set it for trial.
All right.
If you want to set it for docket zoning, set it for docket zoning. I'm not waiving in any case. This is an emergency
if I
created by
had a
the
rock,
state.
I would throw it at you right now.
This
Stop pissing me off.
Let me just say this, by the way. If someone threatens to stone you outside of Palestine or in the 21st century, it's really kind of laughable. It gets less funny.
Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
sit down.
I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand and represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat
Let's go
your
out
ass.
Spoiler alert, there's some bad language. Look at the jury, by the way. I don't want to show you, but when he comes back, they start clapping for the judge. The judge was the winner of this fight. I can understand what the lawyer was thinking. He was like, really? You threatened to throw a rock at me. You probably go throw it like this. I'm going to whoop you when you get out there. No. The judge actually kind of sucker punched him and threw the first and the last and every punch in between. By the way, between the two of them, which one do you think still has their job? The judge. Look at the rule. Rule 3.5. A lawyer should not engage in conduct intended to disrupt the tribunal. Guess what it does not say? Unless the judge started it. This is not a reciprocal obligation. You must be kind, respectful, and not go back in the back room with the judge regardless of what he or she says. I had this situation happen to me outside of the practice of the law. I was in Buffalo, definitely not bragging. I'm giving a seminar like this, which I thought was great. Halfway through, a little tiny woman comes up to me, a little tiny white woman, and begins to yell at me. Gets in my face, and says, you're a clown. This is ridiculous. I paid this kind of money for this type of stuff. You don't have anything useful to say. This might work on the West Coast, but we're sophisticated people here. This is New York. I said, I wanted to say, no, this is Buffalo. You closer to the Amish than New York City. Don't act like this in New York. I don't say anything. I let her yell at me for 3 or 4 minutes. The organizer comes to me afterwards and is very impressed with my demeanor. Says, wow, you're really calm. And I know you kind of can be smart, Alec. Why didn't you say anything back? And I was like, you wanted me to curse out your judge. She said, well, how do you know she's a judge? Now, let me get this straight. A little tiny white woman walked up to a large black man and felt completely secure in yelling at him. You got to work up to that. You got to practice that for years, all right? None of you in this room are going to try that afterwards, all right? That's got to be your job. That's her job, is to yell at big black men for a living. I'm like, you want me to yell at someone who has the power of contempt to keep me in Buffalo? Would you and the Amish any longer than... I'm just waiting for my check now, all right? In a court of law, you lose every time. Don't fight, you just lose. Accept it. Worst legal strategy. Here are lawyers. Yeah, exactly. On my bucket list, I recently turned 48, and I'm really starting to keep a bucket list more handy now. I looked in the insurance actuarial table, and as a black man, I was supposed to be dead 3 weeks ago. All right, we don't live that long. And so I've been really trying to put my list of things I want to do and places I want to go. And one of the people I want to meet is Christopher Darden, so I can say, Negro, are you crazy? Here's what Christopher Darden did. He tried to get OJ to try on the gloves, as if OJ was going to put on the gloves and go, ooh, these feel good, actually. I haven't felt this good since I killed those people. Really? If I was OJ, I'd have put the gloves on my feet. I don't know that's exactly what OJ was supposed to do. Here are lawyers who had strategies that were just as bad. The movie here is Jefferson in Paris. This is actually a real picture from the Kansas disciplinary hearing of a lawyer who showed up in a Thomas Jefferson costume. That's right, he wanted to argue as Thomas Jefferson why he should not be disbarred for incompetence, for ineffective assistance of counsel. Who thinks he got disbarred? If you wear a costume to the hearing, you are getting disbarred. Generally, you should wear pants, even if you're a woman, especially if you're a woman. You certainly can't come in a costume. He'd have been better off coming as George Jefferson or Wheezy Jefferson in blackface. He would have done better than this. Here's the movie Kramer versus Kramer. Here is a lawyer in California, and he was attempting to collect from a client who hadn't paid. So he filed a lawsuit. Nothing wrong with that. He then served the lawsuit on the client's registered agent for service of process, himself. You got it. You fasten the rest of them. You slow down your thinking for them. So you can all be in sync. Yeah, he serves himself, and then guess what? He defaults on himself. And then he goes to court and says, I've got a default judgment against myself, Your Honor. And they say, oh, we got an action for you, against you. They're recommending disbarment. We're being stupid. Here is the movie The Untouchables. Here is a lawyer who attempted to make his, I love this too, wow, disbarment from Maryland, who attempted to make his money untouchable. He had liens from the tax authorities, and so he was trying to hide his own money in the client trust account. He got disbarred for reverse embezzlement. Not from stealing dollars from them, but for putting money into the account. And it's proper. The rule is not just that you can't steal the money, but that there's no commingling of funds. That means putting your funds in there is also a violation. It's also a violation, by the way, of putting your funds in there, even if there are no client funds in there. So not just commingling, but mingling is a problem. So a lawyer a couple years ago, and she decided that the practice of law was really too adversarial, too bloody, too gory. So she went into nursing. And she goes into nursing and says, I'm not going to open up a new bank account. I just use the client trust account. No client money in there. I've closed out the client funds. And she got suspended for a year for stealing her own money. The client trust account has one use, and it is not to steal money or to hide money from the feds or your spouse, maybe your kids, maybe, but not them. And then, last one here is the movie Witness. Here is a lawyer who, in their eagerness to protect the criminal defendant, offered a $300 bribe for one of the witnesses not to show up. Now, remember, I told you these are all last year's cases. This is a last year case, but apparently it happened in 1943, and we just found out about it. Because what would you add? I couldn't get my kids to clean their room for $300, right? Who's gonna not show up for $300? He then ups it to $500, and that's still not enough. Interestingly enough, and I love this though, is that this is only actionable and problematic if you don't offer enough money. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Hypothetically, if you're a football fan, and let's say you like the Dallas Cowboys, you have a very, very, very good defensive lineman who's a horrible human being, but really can sack the quarterback. It might be okay for his lawyer to say, be convicted on a bench trial for domestic violence, and then when they go to the jury trial to determine actual guilt, to say to the victim, maybe if we do a settlement. Now, you haven't filed a lawsuit yet, but let's say we settle your lawsuit for, say, $2.1 million with gag and disclosure orders. Would that be okay? That's fine. Just can't bribe anybody for $500. People, bring the money up. And our winner in this category is, of course, Dustin Hoffman. How you going to not do Dustin Hoffman? Also, because the lesson I think to be learned here is that this happened because this lawyer was independently wealthy. He had so much money that he just really collected the money as a matter of principle. Anybody believe me? Anybody think that this lawyer did this because he really needed the money? Lawyers who would get desperate do really, really dumb things. There's a lawyer in Ohio, and last year, one of last year's nominees, and the client hadn't paid the bill. And he went to the client changed her number. He can't call the client. So she goes, leaves her apartment one morning to go to work. He is sitting on her car. He says to her, "You have not paid my bill, you've been ignoring my calls. That is a violation of a law I'm about to make up with some Latin, etc. And it has a death penalty if you don't pay your lawyer all the fees they're owed by noon." She said, "I want my money." She said, "I don't have your money here." He said, "Fine, let's go to the bank, I'll drive." He drives her to the bank. This is very disturbing for her. Who would have thunk it, really? She gets in the line with the teller, and the teller notices how disturbed she is. This is how disturbed she is. And the teller says, "Baby, you okay?" And she doesn't even know what to say. So the teller hits the button. If state, federal authorities, and SWAT have to show up for your bill collection matter, you're not getting your money. You also are going to be suspended at the very least. Now, I understand what happens is because the lawyers needed the money, because they had spent it. I can respect that. I'm going to encourage you, though, to not get yourself in that position. I don't have to tell you people in Colorado because this is a different place. I grew up in LA. We weren't the godly people you are. And so I grew up at a time where money was thought to be important. You didn't grow up that way, but I grew up watching shows like Lifestyles of Rich and Famous. I'm sure in Colorado you had lifestyles of the socially and meaningfully contributing, but lower middle class. But we didn't have that. And so the values I learned were warped. And I learned that the things you have say things about you, not just about your financial status, but more about your worth as a person, your existential value. The car you drive and the clothes you wear and the house you live in, what it says is God likes you best. And I want God to like me best. And so I spent most of my adult life buying things I didn't need with money I didn't have to impress people I don't really like. None of you know what I'm talking about. I can't tell you how many times I've showed up for a speech needing the money that they had promised because I had already spent it. I'm going to encourage you not to do that. Encourage you not to do that because your clients won't always pay. And you should account for that. You know by now that a certain percentage of clients aren't going to pay. Get over it. Don't get yourself in this situation. In the immortal words of that Disney classic, Frozen, let it go, people. I'm going to play it for you.
The past is in the past. Let it go. Let it go. And I'll rise like the break of dawn. Let it go. Let it go.
Let me tell you why I tortured you with that. 4 years ago, I went to an 8-year-old talent show. Never recommend it. Even if your kid's in it, don't go. Because 7 little girls wanted to sing the Let It Go song. None of them sounded as good as that goat. Not one of them. I did you a favor. I don't even know what to do next. It's so good. I'm going to give you, very quickly, I'm going to give you this one. The Archie Bunker Award.
So you're saying you'd rather be
Oops.
a dottery old man than an efficient young woman?
That is right.
So you're saying you'd rather be operated on by a dottery old man than an efficient young woman?
That is right, little girl, because a woman's doctor's only good for women's problems, like your gynecology there. For a man's problems, you need a man doctor who knows his way around in there. What, do you want some nervous dame foostering around, eh? Maybe she cut the wrong string and the poor guy's keister would fall off.
We now have cases, this is kind of this is a new category for this year, because we now have cases where it's actually actionable to be Archie Bunker. Be a racist, sexist, homophobe, all of that stuff is now actionable. It used to just sort of be a character flaw that we kind of thought was cute. Not anymore. Here is a movie, American History X. This involved that horrible situation a few years ago that happened in the Middle East. And there was some Israeli children, I think even one of them was American, who were kidnapped by a group of Palestinian people. And then there was some retaliation, and it became this huge international incident. Well, 2 lawyers in Florida decided they wanted to take this to the internet, figure out which one of them could lose their job first. So here's what the first public defender said. Public defender said, that's why the Palestinian people are considered the cockroaches of the world, reprehensible and despicable with utter disregard for civility and humanity. Burn them to the ground. Now his colleague decided he wanted to get fired too, so he hit the like button. He said, like might not be enough. Let me add my own commentary. I think we got good unemployment benefits. He writes, they are the filthy swine they don't eat. Their ignorance of the world bewilders the dumbest people I have ever met. Oh, the second dumbest people I have ever met. Their boss, and I love this, the public defender, Mr. Finkelstein, had to fire these 2 people. And he basically said, look, I can't have public defenders here who have demonstrated bias towards Palestinian people. It doesn't work very well for the office. Any of you have an employer who thinks it's going to be good for their reputation to have a bigot on the payroll? That's going to work well for the company? About a sexist? More sexist than normal. The things you say on Facebook will be problematic. Here is the movie The Hangover, where these guys were, doing their irresponsible weekend 3 times in a row. Here's a guy who got a 3-month suspension for the best I can term is being a bro. Just being an immature Jack Bottom. He got in trouble. One of the things is that he got in trouble for sending a number of emails and faxes. Now, one, if you send a fax in 2015, you're going to get disbarred. You really should. You time traveled. I don't even know how you did it. But here's what he would write. This will acknowledge receipt of your numerous emails, faxes, and letters. In response thereto, blah, 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 blah. He literally wrote blah, 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 blah. One time he writes to opposing counsel, did you get beat up in school a lot? Because you whine like a little girl. Why don't you grow a pair? Yeah, exactly. This is the kind of thing where normally 5 years ago, high five. Not anymore. The carelessness of language here. There was a case last year of a lawyer in Illinois who got in trouble for constantly using the F word, the gay expletive F word. Now the thing about it is that he used the word not in relation to people's orientation, but just as his general term of not liking people. He didn't like the person regardless of gender, regardless of orientation. Oh, he's a blah, blah, blah. She's a blah, blah, blah. And he got suspended. He was so surprised. He was like, I'm not a homophobe. And they were like, yes, but you are an idiot. You're a bro. You're just irresponsible with the language. We're lawyers. You should be more clear than that. I understand, because this is something that we all could be guilty of. I was guilty of this. I don't know where it happened, but 3 or 4 years ago, I began to conflate the word gay with lame, substandard. So if I saw a movie I didn't like, I said, oh, that movie was so gay. And I said that once to a gay friend of mine, and he said, you're right, didn't like that movie at all. Very, very Negro, very Negro. Oh, I get it. I get your point. Okay. Be careful. Also, here's the movie Dixie. Here's an Idaho lawyer, had his conviction reversed and cited for prosecutorial misconduct. He's prosecuting an African-American man accused of assaulting a white woman in Idaho. Well, that might not be as popular as it would be, say, here in Denver, okay? Or nowhere, okay? In his closing arguments, he says, you know, as a kid, we used to sing a lot. And one of my favorite songs to sing around at home was Dixie. And if you know it, sing along with me. Wish I was in the land of cotton, good times be forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. On appeal, you find it hard to believe, but the defense says, you kind of poisoned the jury a little bit here. And he says, that wasn't my intention at all. Here's what I was trying to do, and I believe him. He said, I'm trying to explain to the jury, as you'll see later in the transcript, that the defense wants you to look away, look away, look away from the evidence. But you did not look away from the evidence. I want you to look toward the evidence. He used the song, but the problem is you cannot pick a song written before 1984. If it came out before Princess Purple Rain, I promise you it is racist, sexist, and very homophobic. Almost all four of those. Anti-Semitic too. Usually a little bit of that too. By the way, this is the winner in this category, and I'll prove it to you. A couple years ago, there was a case involving Southwest Airlines. You know how the flight attendants like to try to be cute and funny? They're trying to get everybody on the plane. They said, look, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick a seat and off we go. 2 African-American women on the plane got very, very offended. The reason is because they know that song was written before 1984. It was written more like 1684. This is a song that the slave master's children might sing, and it went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick a African-American, not the word they would use, by his toe. If he hollers, let him go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Yeah, not quite as cute when you get the context, right? Here's the truth, the lesson you need to take from this, the only lesson you need to take from this. Do not reference a song written before 1984. I promise you, it's not going to be good. And the last category we're going to do here, and really I've started to choose the one, but I'm going to choose this one, is worst temper in a non-legal setting. Every year I have lawyers who lose it. Here are our nominees. Here's the movie K-9. Here's the Oklahoma case, start giggling. The attorney shows up at his soon-to-be ex-wife's place, and she does not want him there. She's called the police. He then drives away. The police come behind him, and they now are on a slow-speed chase through this suburban area, but he will not stop. At one point, they put the spike strips out. He continues driving. Finally, he gets out of the car and makes a run for it. The officer apparently said, I'm not chasing you, and sicks the dog on him. The lawyer was charged, among other things, with assault of a police officer. He bit the dog. At least that's my supposition. I'm not sure. He got a 6-month suspension, but they let him back in December 23rd, just in time for Christmas. It's just a neighborly thing to do. Here's the movie Bully. Here is a lawyer in Kentucky, and his little baby girl is being cyberbullied. And he does what any of you would do. He goes on the internet and threatens to kill the cyberbullies. That is problematic. It'll get you a 181-day suspension in Kentucky and jail in most places. Just because it's your little baby, you cannot protect them from cyberbullies. I got the best protection at all. I had this happen to my 21-year-old. He's 18 years old. He's in college. Calls me up in tears. Daddy, they're cyberbullying me on YouTube. You know what I told him? Get off YouTube. Done. Here is in the heat of the night. This happened in Saratoga Springs Park, and apparently the heat from the hot springs makes lawyers a little crazy. Here is the report that I'm just going to read to you from the report because it's amazing. The respondent was involved in an incident during which he allegedly tackled the victim, throwing him to the ground, and causing the victim to suffer injuries to his neck and shoulder, as well as a head concussion. The respondent also was alleged to have applied pressure to the victim's throat and neck that impeded his breathing and caused him to be dazed and shaken and have memory loss. Do you realize what I just read to you? He threw the guy to the ground and tried to choke him to death. This is in New York, so he got a public censure. The guy was talking trash. It's New York. You're entitled to do that. Here, I finally got one of yours. Here's a Colorado case. By the way, this happened. I'm not going to name the person. If it is you, don't do what a lawyer in Ohio did. I had a lawyer in Ohio. I was talking about them. They got up mad, took their stuff, and walked out. Then we all knew. If it's you, just pretend like it's not. I can't believe that fool did that. Laugh at him and keep your dignity, okay? It's too late to get your money back at this point in the program, all right? Here's the movie The Patriot. Here's a Colorado lawyer who wants access to his wife's 401k account. And the people at Charles Schwab over the phone won't give it to him. So he does what you would do and threatens to kill the person. Apparently does not realize that call centers are not always located in your same state. This was located not in India, where most of them are, but actually in Arizona, but still not problematic. The police come. He comes to the door holding, and I'm just going to read it for you here, a 2-foot-long antique bayonet. I don't need to tell you this. I'm not telling you anything about this lawyer other than the fact that we all know, of course, he is white. We know that because he lived, okay? Oh, come on. Don't act like we don't need to know what I'm talking about here. If you even got a tan, I don't suggest you try this, all right? If you got a little Indian in your family, don't try this, all right? You gotta be real white to try that one. Here's a New Jersey lawyer. This is the movie Risky Business. Here's a lawyer who was driving through New Jersey, and apparently he was going too slow for the 2 knucklehead teenagers behind him. They start flashing their lights, honking the horn. He does what any of you respectable adults would do. He slows the car down, slows, and stops, gets out of the car with a knife. He does not realize that in a game of knife, car, scissors, car wins every time. The kids know this, and they don't bother the guy. They just drive around him, and they're done. They think. He gets back in the car, and now he begins to chase them, like that Risky Business scene. This is Guido, the killer lawyer, instead of the killer pimp. He chases them through 7, not 1, not 2, but 7 New Jersey townships. If you've been to New Jersey, you know it's about 1.5 miles. They're really close together in New Jersey. They finally call the police and say, we're being chased by Guido, the killer pimp. What do we do? And they're like, well, it's New Jersey. You deal with it on your own. This is how it works. They said, no, here's what you do. Go to the hospital 2 blocks from you, go into the hospital, go through the emergency lane. We had an incident there. There are a bunch of police officers right there. They drive in. The lawyer follows them right in, gets out of the car, apparently not seeing this battalion of officers holding a knife. He then sees them and then tries to open his hood quickly, and I'm fixing my car. I fix the spark plugs with a knife. He has lied to officers of the law. He has threatened to kill young kids. It's New Jersey. He gets a censure. They were talking trash. And the winner, of course, is Risky Business. Let me just say this. These road rage incidents happen all the time. They are never, ever the result of what we think they are. There was a case last year, for instance, last year's winner was a guy who went to Walmart. Now, you know it's going to get a bit worse from here. He goes to Walmart, and then he's having a parking dispute. You trying to park in a space, I'm trying to park in. So he handles it like any lawyer should do. He gets out of his car, pulls open the driver's side door, and punches the elderly man in the face. This is Walmart. It's 2 for Tuesday. He then goes around to the passenger side, opens the door, and punches the elderly woman in the face. Well, it wasn't really Tuesday, so he didn't have the 2 for Tuesday permission. Now, who thinks that that action was over a parking space? Anybody ever been to a Walmart? Don't raise your hand, but just wiggle your ear so I know you're talking. You know what I'm talking about. Walmart had nothing but parking spaces in a Walmart parking lot. You don't become the richest retailer in the history of ever because people can't find a way to park at your place, right? Most parking lots in Walmart are bigger than, I don't know, Kansas. They're like your airport, right? You put them out there and then people can park, all right? No way in the world it's about a parking space. You think that guy woke up that morning and said, you know, I'm gonna go to Walmart, get some chewing tobacco, 4,800 rolls of toilet paper, and a firearm for $1.50, and I'm gonna get this bar. No, something was going on, and he wasn't handling what's going on. I'm gonna tell you something. Something's going on with some of you as lawyers. I tell you jokes so you'll listen to the hard part. It's hard being a lawyer. If you're good at it, you have issues. Most of you aren't good at it, so it's not your problem, but some of you are really good at what you do. Here's your issue. You are, if not clinically, de facto, paranoid schizophrenic. You think of everything that could go wrong, and then you plan for it accordingly, and excessively, and in triplicate, belts and suspenders, right? Now, that makes you valuable to your clients, but how much fun is it to take a vacation with you? In this profession, half of all marriages end in failure, and the other half end in divorce. All right, it's rough. Deal with your issues, okay? I don't want to see you in the back of the bar journal because I will make fun of you. It won't bother me at all. I'm not going back to work. On that note, we are done. You have passed your time. But I got to give a code or something? Oh, no, a question. The judge in the clip was removed from the bench, from office. Oh, damn. That ruins my whole story. Pretend you didn't hear that. I'm not telling that part. All these stories aren't true. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will see some of you are gluttons for punishment at 1 o'clock, right? 1 o'clock.